Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to check out some Fishmans today. We haven't listened to them in quite some time. 2023, I believe, sometime. We checked out two songs. It was Long Season, which that was a pretty lengthy track, and Hikoki. And so today we're going to be looking at I Baby. We have a music video queued up for us, and I wonder where this is going to sit on their more experimental long-form side, or the sort of laid-back ska-ish sound that we found in Hikoki. So let's dive into this and see what Fishmans is bringing to the table today. There's that offbeat chord hit, very ska-like. I like the hi-hat work, very light and effective. The synth work is interesting though. Between the hazy panning sound of the intro with this that sounds very interesting choices. That little chime. Very chill and laid back though. This song is not interested in intensity, it's not interested in really going anywhere. It's quite happy with where it is. There's that hazy synth again. Still panning. We haven't heard that since the intro though. Trying to figure out the structure to this. It just sounds like one long A section with variations on it. But the vocal melody, I'm getting like a chorus idea out of it. A little bit of detuning on that this time around. I don't think we've heard that before. I think this is how the song's ending, right? Oh, no? What? Huh. The song made a lot of sense to me up until those last 30 seconds. So we'll talk about that in isolation later. We'll bring that up in a bit. The song to me, though, is this this long A section. We have the, I don't know if it's a guitar or a synth. It's the offbeat chord hits. The chat, 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 chat. That kind of gives us that laid back ska feeling. We have some light but not simple drumming. This is what I was trying to convey earlier, and I was getting wrapped up in trying to analyze things. I don't think I vocalized my thoughts clearly here. I love what the drums are doing because they are light and feeling effortless, but that there is a lot of concentration to it. It is not a simple rhythm. It's not just, quarter note hi-hat with, alternating snare and bass, or a snare on every other beat and a bass kick on one or something like that. There is some rhythmic complexity to it. There's that fast hi-hat idea at the end of every phrase. It moves, it has energy, but it feels light and effortless. And I really love that combination. And between the offbeat hits and the drums, that is our rhythm section. And that doesn't change at all from start to almost finish. Again, we're going to talk about the ending in a little bit. And so, from a purely rhythm section perspective, this is just a really long A section. But I did mention there's a few different things in here. We have a synth off to the side that gives us a little bit of ornamentation and a very, very, very light kind of counterpoint at times to the vocal melody. And then, of course, we have, the vocal melody. And this is what it creates our verse. Now, we do have a different synth that comes up in a second vocal movement idea. I think this is a chorus. I'm not entirely sure because my understanding of the song, atmosphere and emotion, intensity, rhythm, chord progression, everything that I use to really dictate a song structure is static for the most part. And so it really only is instrumental change and melody change that I'm interpreting anything close to a new idea. It's very easy just to call this a variation on the A, something new on top of it. Just like if you have a series of solo sections in like a jazz track, the underlying accompaniment is going to be similar throughout. This is all the solo section. Even if you trade off soloists and the melody on top of it changes, it's not a new section. It's still the solo section. That's kind of what I feel about this. We can put up these small dividers where the element on top of the song alters, but what's underneath doesn't, and that creates something interesting entirely because it's a song that's confident with moving forward, where forward is the same place we are right now. This isn't, we've talked about like spinning your tires, right? Putting a lot of energy in to go nowhere at all. And that's not what this does. This song does go somewhere. It's just similar to where we've been. It's like going to the next town, where the next town might have different locations of the restaurants and stores and buildings and banks and stuff, but your options are the same. The general look of the town is the same as the one you just came from. It's just organized in a different way. You've technically have moved, you have gone somewhere, but where you're at now really isn't that different from where you were. And that's what Fishmans does really well here. They have three-ish distinct sections that are all very similar. And merged with the music video, which looks like old camcorder footage of a couple of kids growing up and hanging out with each other. Time passes. These different scenes. They feature different backgrounds. They're in different poses and stuff. But generally, the vibe between the band members, presumably, is all the same, right? They haven't really grown up, but they've grown, if that makes sense. Or maybe the inverse of that is accurate. They haven't grown, but they have grown up. And that's sort of the vibe I get from the music. There are things that changed, but the majority of things are the same. And it is because of this semi-altering thing on top. And that's what gives us our verse and chorus. Now, we do have a synthesizer in here, and I'm not always sure how to read it, how to understand it. It does wild things, where the song, I think, sits in a very soft ska sound for a majority of it, very light, laid back, almost kind of reggae at times with its lack of energy. It's very comfortable vocal delivery. We have these synths though, and the one that kicks the song off, it's sort of noisy. It's very much it's a larger sound than anything else in the song. It pans from side to side. It has a warble to it. It is full of movements and direction. Now, it's the same pitch though, but it literally moves. There is the vibrato of it, where it's not a static pitch, and there's also the panning, which moves it horizontally in the song. But I think what's interesting is about these types of movements is that none of them are linear. They're not like a vector which goes in a direction. They always reset. It's a cycle. The vibrato gets a little flatter and then a little sharper, a little flatter, a little sharper, and it always comes back to the center eventually. The same thing with the panning. It's going to move from right channel to left channel, but it always has to cross center to get there, and it isn't going anywhere in particular. It's moving in a circle. This idea of changing the scenery but not changing the content, in a sense, is baked into this song, from even the way that the instruments sound, but even into the structure of the track. This concept of growing but not growing up. It ends up working really well. I think we get some real thematic resonance out of this track. Even if I found some of the sections lasting just a hair bit too long for me. And I think that would be my biggest criticism for the track, is that it is stagnant. You really have to be here for the sound. Some songs you can listen to the first 5 seconds and think, yeah, it's not my cup of tea, but we'll see where they take it. You can start off listening to this song that way, but after a couple minutes, I think you're going to realize they're not taking it anywhere. And if you don't enjoy what's going on in the opening 5 seconds, you're not going to enjoy what's going on in any of the song. It's just not the type of song that it is. And so I generally enjoyed it. I think it's rather, what's that word? inoffensive. And usually I say that in a negative way, but I just, what I mean by that is that I don't think anybody would find this bad or difficult to listen to. It may not be something that they enjoy, but it is generally pleasant in all ways. Um, but I also don't hear much here that speaks to me personally, and the fact that it goes on for as long as it does. I think that the general movement of the panning synth to the verse to the chorus back to the panning synth, this stuff moves nicely. It's got a decent pace to it. Not too brisk, but fast enough for me to never be too tired with something. But the bridge and the outro of the song definitely, they take their time. And I could feel it at the end of the song where, I'd mentioned, oh, this has to be getting pretty close to the end. We're still doing this though, huh? I definitely had my fill of that sound at that point. But they didn't have enough. Because in the final 30 seconds of the song, they threw in something a bit jazzier. They moved away from the offbeat hits, they moved away from the sort of fuzzy sounds for something a bit more warmer. The drums lightened up a little bit more and found something a bit funkier in their rhythmic ideas, moving away from the hi-hat ideas into syncopated snare hits. A bass guitar came in and gave us something a bit more of a walking line, and we had a light piano solo here. In isolation, this section is fine. I don't have anything against it. In the larger work of art, I really can't figure out what it's doing here. It is a wild idea to take something like, I mean, it fits, right? It's not like we went to like Loud and Screaming or something like that. It's still a light mood. And so I think emotionally it still fits, but the transition into it was rough. The instrumentation and timbre change signifies that there's not much of a tie over between the two sides, and this part itself even kind of peters out in a way that feels just like what it feels like in its entirety. It's all kind of tacked on. Like they had this cool little lick and they're like, let's just throw it on this one song we have. And it doesn't really feel connected to it at all. And the fact that it ends with all the instruments saying, all right, we're good. And the pianist going, actually, I'd like to take 4 more bars if that's okay. I don't know. It just sort of is. And I don't know how to interpret it against the rest of the song. And so it stands out as a strange little ending to me. A song that made a lot of sense, that didn't really take a lot of risks, but ended up doing something very competently, and then flipped the whole thing on its head at the end of the track in a way that left me more confused than anything else. So I don't know what's going on there. I'm going to read some lyrics though. Maybe there's something said at the end of the song that explains this sonic shift, but I'd be very surprised how we would be able to tie the themes that I felt in the majority of the song's narrative to this final moment. Let's find out. The song is about a significant other who always cheers you up. The beginning of the lyrics is a pretty big thesis statement for this. Your face always comes to mind whenever I was feeling sad. You were always the one to smile whenever I was feeling sad. People have always needed an invisible force, so when I see a sad night, it reminds me of you. We also have what I think is the chorus. It says, you're incredible. You're my crazy baby. Blow a kiss to the gaps in the night. My baby on a moonlit night. You're crazy. Even when you're feeling down, you're crazy, my baby. And the song ends coming back to that first stanza. Your face always came to mind whenever I was feeling sad. You were always the one to smile whenever I was feeling sad. There's a little twist on this, though, and you may have picked it up. It's in the vocabulary. Everything's written past tense. Your face always came to mind. It doesn't anymore. You were always the one to smile, but you don't anymore. But then there's the chorus, which feels present tense. You are incredible. You are my crazy baby. Can you blow a kiss to the gaps in the night? Very present. There is one stanza I skipped, though, and it implies a falling out. It says the starry sky shines outside my window. You threw an invisible magic spell. You threw it somewhere that I can't see, or at least that's how it felt to me. The idea of throwing a spell that someone can't see implies that the spell landed elsewhere, and where once you were the one to smile when I was feeling sad, now it's possible you're smiling when someone else is feeling sad. At least that's how I interpret that stanza. It is the one that sort of sits outside of everything else. I also wanted to interpret the past tense of it all, and maybe that's what it is. This person's no longer their significant other and they're with someone else now. That could be what brings in some of the sadness to the song. Though I never really commented on that because it never really clicked until right now. It is a chill, laid back song, but I wouldn't say that it is happy. It does have a bounce to it. That's a positive energy, but also the warmth, haziness of especially the synthesizers in it have a feeling of memory. But a lot of the stuff I found in the music, this element of moving on to something new, but that's not too different from where we were, isn't really present in the lyrics at all. It's interesting that I found that theme in so many layers of the music, but it doesn't seem to be a core theme to the lyrics. And I'm curious if that was an unintentional theme. Maybe I'm just reading into things. I'm prone to doing that. Or if they purposefully wanted to have these two stories running juxtaposed. One of a lost element looking towards the past when things were better, and one of taking steps forward where things don't change at all. One could be a reality and the other could be a wish. That kind of idea. How things could have gone. But I'm also not too sure why there's so much past tense in here, and then the chorus kicks in, and it's very present tense. You're incredible, you're amazing, you're my crazy baby. So I'm a bit lost on all that. Some of this could have been lost in translation as well. The original is in Japanese, and I'm reading a translated version of it. I don't know if this was hand translated, though. This comes from Genius. One of the annotators had put this in. They put the Romanji version, and then they also put a translated version. I thought that was very nice, but it also means I don't have a source for the translation. So I don't know how accurate it is, nor if it is a literal one or one that keeps the intended meaning and feeling of it. So there could be just some context I'm missing to this. That's going to wrap up my thoughts, though, on Fishmans' "いかれたBaby." What'd you think of this track, though? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Maybe just give me your own thoughts, opinions, and perspectives on this track. Put all that stuff down in the comments section. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for this one. I'll be back tomorrow, though. We're going to have some new music. We're going to have some music to check out. And that'll be at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.